and welcome to Outside Source. The EU has warned that it will take retaliatory measures against Poland following a controversial court ruling which goes directly against one of the cornerstones of the European Union. On Thursday last week, a Polish court decided that in some cases the Polish constitution supersedes EU law. Well, here's one of the EU Justice Commissioners speaking today.
I don't want to say now what will be the decision of the Commission about the best possible ways to react, but what is sure that we will react, of course, like we have done in the last weeks and months. You have seen that, again, we are waiting now for new decisions of the Court of Justice about the situation in Poland, also possible daily financial sanctions.
So the possibility of daily financial sanctions. Now let's talk about that ruling because it raised concern among some commentators about a possible Polexit. And over the weekend, well, I'm sure you saw that over 100,000 people took to the streets in support of Poland's EU membership. According to organisers, these protests took place in over 100 towns and cities, with 100,000 people gathering in the capital Warsaw alone. Well, here's the leader of the opposition Civic Platform Party, Donald Tusk.
This handful of people, the judges of the Polish Constitutional Court, don't hesitate to use all possible lies. For example, that the Polish constitution is in conflict with the European Union. This is not true.
Now, Poland's government disputes that interpretation and insists that a Polexit is not on the agenda. They say that the opposition parties are simply trying to drum up support for themselves by this scaremongering. Here's a government spokesperson speaking a little earlier on Monday.
First of all, no one should ever ignore public manifestations, but we must underline that those people gathered under a false motto. There is not any intention of Polexit. Tusk persuades many people that the Polish government and the Polish authorities want Poland to leave the European Union. It is not true.
And the Polish government has also looked to reject any role in influencing the court's decision. Here's Poland's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs speaking to the BBC in just the last few hours.
It's not the decision of the Polish government, it's the decision of the Constitutional Tribunal, so a kind of Supreme Court. When maybe just to tell the British or American viewers, we do have a kind of Constitutional Tribunal, just like the Germans, they do have Federal Constitutional Tribunal, independent judiciary. Why should I discuss the decision taken by the independent judiciary? So that's not the decision of the government.
So let's take a little closer look at the Constitutional Tribunal. It was one of the first targets of the governing party's reform measures, and it's now dominated by judges who are sympathetic to the Law and Justice Party. It's also important to consider where public opinion sits on all of this. Just have a look at results from a survey which was published in the daily newspaper Dziennik Gazeta Prawna. It found that 88% of those polled wanted to remain in the EU, with only 7% of Poles wanting to leave. Now, regardless of public opinion, many people see Thursday's ruling as a problem. Here's the Financial Times on Sunday. It called the ruling a bigger challenge to the EU's unity than Brexit. The Polish Constitutional Tribunal judgment is a direct attack on the EU's legal order, which is the cement holding the EU together. So a lot to unpick. We're going to speak to Wawrzyniec Smoczyński, who is founder of Polityka Insight and joins us live from Warsaw. So we've got the government saying they don't want a Polexit. Poles, as we've seen, don't want a Polexit, and yet we see tens of thousands of Poles out on the streets concerned about the tribunal ruling, the Constitutional Tribunal ruling. Just what are we to make of all of this?
Well, Poland has been in a fight with European institutions for over 4 years now. The government has been conducting reforms which were increasingly seen as directed against rule of law and the principles that Poland has signed up to upon becoming a member state of the EU. We now seem to have entered a phase where the Polish authorities, not just the government, but also the Constitutional Tribunal and the ruling party, have entered into direct legal warfare with European institutions. The kind of verdict that we have seen on Thursday last week is undermining the principles of the legal order of the EU, not just for Poland, who signed up to membership by accepting the treaty and entering the EU, at the time in 2004 and accepting the later treaties that were amended later, but also for other member states, because it gives a precedent for other countries and their judges and their justices and their tribunals to question some parts of EU legislation which might become problematic for particular governments. So it is not just a problem for Brussels with Warsaw, it is a problem for Brussels with the EU as a whole, that ruling that has been passed for purely domestic and political purposes in Warsaw last week.
Now, we know that EU Justice Commissioners are concerned about this. We heard from Didier Reynders a little bit earlier saying about the possibility of financial retaliatory measures. But when it comes to what the Polish Constitutional Tribunal ruled, they talked about the supremacy of constitutional law, and this comes from the Polish constitution itself. For viewers that maybe are not as ingrained in all of this, just help us to understand how this plays out in terms of the overall tenets of what the EU in fact means, the embodiment of it.
Well, the tribunal has ruled that particular parts or articles of the Treaty of the European Union, including Article 1, which actually establishes the Union, are not compatible with Poland's constitution in relation to particular decisions which the European Court of Justice has been taking over the past month. And those particular decisions relate to the rule of law and to the ways in which the Polish government, Polish authorities have chosen to choose and to cherry pick justices for different levels of the judiciary system in Poland. So it's not like the Polish Constitutional Tribunal went out saying we don't want to be part of the EU. They ruled on against particular rulings of the ECJ, which do not fit with the government's agenda on controlling the judicial system in Poland. So it's directly related to the political interests of the ruling party. That same ruling party, which 3 weeks ago has passed an internal resolution declaring that they have no intention whatsoever of bringing Poland out of the EU. Now, the people who are claiming Poland has made the first step towards Polexit, so the Brexit the Polish way, say that that legal decision actually is a kind of legal statement by Poland's top court that we no longer see ourselves as part of the legal system of the EU. In that sense, it might be interpreted as a first step towards Polexit. There is no political decision, neither on the part of the government nor particularly on the part of the opposition, to exit the EU. It's actually a game of power because what the government wants to do, it wants to anticipate a decision by the ECJ, which will come in the following days, which will perhaps authorize the mechanism which will give the European Commission the possibility to freeze EU funds from the multi-annual EU budget if Poland doesn't accept the demands of the EU regarding rule of law. So this is actually a process or a measure which is directed at that upcoming decision from the ECJ.
Wawrzyniec, it's a very complicated scenario, but Polexit, Brexit in a Polish way, will stay with us. Wawrzyniec Smoczyński, founder of Polityka Insight, thank you so much, as always. Lots more detail on our website.